What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is JU with goldmines.com, and I'm here to talk about the fight over the weekend, the hype, the controversy, all of the above, in the fight with Sergey, the Crusher, Kovalev versus Andre SOG, Son of God, Ward. Um, Let me start off by saying this. I was going to actually do this a little bit later, but let me start off by saying this. I took a day because I really wanted to, just kind of get a feel, really do some research and rewatch the fight. And so I'm gonna put it out here like this. First of all, I did think Kovalev took this fight, but unlike many of the videos and comments that I've been seeing, this is not an Andre Ward hating session. Okay, because why are we blaming the fighters when at the end of the day everybody is yelling politics or whatever, right? This is not an Andre Ward hate video. This isn't a Kovalev love video. I am a fan of both of these fighters. And that's why this commentary, this analysis is very important to me. Because I feel like I really had somewhat of an objective view. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I was rooting for Kovalev. I really was. But I always tell myself I was just like this with the UFC 205 fight. Whether you watch UFC or not, there was a big fight with Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez, and I told myself, I said, hey, I'm rooting for Conor, but I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Alvarez wins, and I wouldn't even be mad because he earned it. And I'm the same way with this fight. Just because the only reason I was rooting for one is because I like the way he is as a champion. I like a man that takes all comers. I like that example set. But that's nothing against Son of God, Andre Ward, because I think he's a reputable character too. And I think many of you disagree. But anyways, I just wanted to start off by saying that. Okay. Um, what I did was I went back and I kind of went round through round, and I kind of just stuck out what was significant to me, or wrote down what was significant to me, um, why, you know what I mean? Just kind of a play by play. And so what I'm gonna do, if you're watching this on YouTube, then you can definitely find the fight and kind of go through it later. If you're watching this on goldmines.com, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna post the fight itself right under this video. And so you can kind of go through it with me, and I'll post a lot of this stuff that I'm going to have in here. And you can just, you know, kind of go through it and take from it what you want. Whether you disagree, whether you agree with me, at this moment in time, it doesn't matter. This is just my opinion. This is the opinion of Gold Mines. Okay. So let me grab my notes here, and let's start with how I saw these fights going. And these are notes, so forgive me if it's a little choppy. I'm just going to go with what I wrote down as I was watching this fight, rewatching this fight. When I first watched this fight, I was watching it, and I thought Kovalev clearly won. So what I did was I went back and I tried to essentially give rounds because, again, thinking that Kovalev clearly won, I'm like, okay, so either they were a little biased or they saw something I didn't. What I tried to do was I tried to give Andre Ward's the closest rounds that I possibly could. And I'm going to speak on that in a little bit, but that's what I did here. So let me also start this out by saying Max Kellerman was riding Ward's dick from the beginning. Okay. So right when I rewatched it, and I'm glad because I actually watched it at a bar, so I didn't hear a lot of this stuff the first time. But when I really watched it the second time, I just shut off the sound. I said, I'm not going to be swayed by the crowd oohs and ahs. I'm not going to be swayed by Letterman, and I'm not going to be swayed by Max Kellerman. So that's what I did. I just shut the sound off and I just watched the boxing match because I love boxing. And that's what I wanted to rewatch. So round one, I had the jab contest fairly even, right? Obviously, and this is pretty common, right? It's usually a filler process. I think Kovalev landed At 235, I think Kovalev landed the more meaningful of the exchanges up until this point with 235 left. Um, I think for the first minute, I think Kovalev was pushing the action. Um, I think Kovalev had more head control early. I think Ward did some very good body work. Okay. But if I had to give this round to somebody in round one, I was giving it to Kovalev. I thought he had the more effective punching in round one. Um, and that was just where I scored it. So that's a 10-9 round for Sergey Kovalev. Now, round two, if you watch this fight at all, is kind of needless to say, but I'm going to go through it anyways, right? Because I think there's a reoccurring theme in some of these rounds. For the first half of this round, in round two, I think Kovalev displayed clear ring generalship. Okay. Um, and I say that because for most of this fight, when I not, that wasn't a misstep. I do believe for most of this fight, he controlled the center of the ring for the most part. And I'm actually pulling something up right now as we speak. So I just wanted you to clarify to some who may or may not know, whether you're, new to boxing. I just want to be as thorough as possible. So ring generalship, according to boxrec.com, the ability of a boxer to dictate the pace, style, and tactics of a bout. Okay. According to the 1929 rules of the New York State Athletic Commission, for example, ring generalship comprised such points as the ability to quickly grasp and take advantage of every opportunity offered, the capacity to cope with all kinds of situations which may arise, to foresee and neutralize an opponent's method of attack, to force an opponent to adopt a style of boxing at which he is not particularly skillful. Okay, so um, that I want to kind of just start off with that. But I do believe that Kovalev in round two had ownership of ring generalship. Um, Also, I noticed that every time, and we're still in the second round, every time that Ward did give a jab in round two, Kovalev was responding with 3 to 4 punches in response. Um, until let's see. What I don't know. I don't know if I wrote down. Okay, so this is the round. Just so you know, I didn't write down the actual time marker, but this is the round where Kovalev lands the knockdown on Andre Ward, which was a beautiful thing. I think also this was interesting because up until this point, like literally, I think everybody, maybe even myself included, thought that Andre Ward was going to literally just box the ears off of Sergey Kovalev. And I heard a couple people, I went through, different channels and comment sections and whatever. And people were trying to say, oh, well, it wasn't a mistake by Andre Ward. I think the one that really stuck out to me was Paulie Malignaggi, and we'll talk about him. Um, but Paulie Malignaggi was like, oh, well, he didn't make a mistake. You just can't time a 1-2 sometimes. Like, well, yeah, I mean, that would be a mistake. But okay, so he knocks him down with the 1-2, and completely dominates this round, right? So we're gonna go ahead and put round two as a 10-8 round for Kovalev. Okay, so that's what I have it as. Again, I don't think anyone's gonna argue round two. Okay, now round three. Let's see. Um, so I thought there was some meaningful exchanges around the 206 mark. I believe Kovalev wins these exchanges. Um, let's see, 202. Another effective exchange, about 146. I think Kovalev is still controlling the center of ring. 131. Ward lands beautiful body shot plus jab, and finally takes the center of the ring halfway through the third round, but ends the round on his bicycle. Um, there was one big concern, and so a lot of people were talking about how Kovalev was doing a lot of holding. So first of all, styles make fights, right? Kovalev is a rangy fighter. He fights at a distance. Um, I I kind of predicted in some of the other videos leading up to this fight that Andre Ward needed to get inside. He's definitely, I think, the more skilled fighter inside, overall. And I say overall because I think Kovalev did some things well that people tried to not give him the credit for. But one of the things that Andre Ward has a tendency to do, because he's typically quicker than his fighters, he'll lead his fighters, his opponents, in a direction, and then jump in with a sweeping like left hook, even a cross, and then dive into his opponent um, so that they can't respond. Now, I think John David Jackson and Sergey Kovalev were completely prepared for this, and so what they did was they trained to neutralize that tactic. And the reason that they wanted to neutralize that tactic, more importantly, is because a lot of times, and many of uh, Andre Ward's opponents, from Abraham to Mikhail Kessler to even Froch, have all been victim of headbutts from Andre Ward. Now, some people think that he uses this as a literal tactic, like I'm going to headbutt these things. I think he just kind of dives in, and that's just his style. But again, agree to disagree. That's what you'll notice if you watch this fight. He dives in after punches. And so Sergey Kovalev has to hold him down, because if not, he comes up with his head, again, leading to headbutts. And the last thing you want is this thing to go to the scorecards because of a headbutt, or just to even get headbutted in general, because it already hurts to get hit by a fist with a glove on it. A head is not fun to get hit with. So I just kind of wanted to clear that up, because that's where I think a lot of the holding came from. I don't think either fighter necessarily wanted to hold, but because of the style of the matchup, that's just naturally what happened. Condre Ward's diving in, and because that's his tactic and it was trained and prepared for by Sergey Kovalev, then you have him in his defense tactic, which became automatic, I believe, over the period of camp. Um, was holding him down. And so that's what I saw. But either way, I think Ward had a great spot in round three, but I don't think he took round three. I gave round three to Sergey Kovalev. Um, I think it was a fairly even round, to be honest. I don't think that Kovalev uh, dominated, but I definitely don't think Andre Ward won that round. I think what I'm looking at is effective aggression, and I think Kovalev had that coming out of round two. It seemed right. I think again he still ring generalship. He controlled the center of the ring. He controlled the pace, and when you talk about making an opponent, fight your style, he was fighting. Andre Ward was on his bicycle by the end of the round again, because he was unable to get inside, which was originally his tactic, or I would assume his general game plan, um, meaning that Sergey Kovalev was able to neutralize that. Um, so yeah, so I gave that as a 10-9 round for Kovalev. Now let's go on to round four. Um, right now, let's see, what did I put? Sam Ward was winning. Okay, so here's one thing. So I'm going to start off by saying this. I gave Ward round four. But one thing I wanna just point out, everybody was given this body work, you know, like just this, you know, I don't know how to, I guess what are the words I'm looking for? They were they held Andre Ward's body work in such high regard for this fight. And he did do well. He did do some very beautiful body work. Don't get me wrong. Again, this isn't an Andre Ward hating session. But I don't think he was as effective on the inside as we'd like to believe. Um, and the reason I say that is because Kovalev, again, I think trained for this fighting. There was, if you noticed what happened a lot of times, right? A lot of people said Andre Ward started to bully him, and bully him is a hell of a term, man. I mean, bullying is, when you're talking about two fighters in the ring, to get bullied is a unique thing. Yeah, I don't want to start saying other names and stuff, but anyways, there was a lot of times where they would get tied up, and Sergey Kovalev would raise Andre Ward's arms and walk him clear across the ring back to the ropes. And if you know boxing at all, this is just it's something you do, right? You walk your opponent back to the ropes, right? Let him know you're stronger than him. You're controlling the pace of this fight, and he did it on multiple occasions, all the way up into through the 12th round. I think one thing that really had Andre Ward surprised is that typically, especially at 168, he was always surprisingly stronger than his opponents. Carl Froch said it, Mikhail Kessler, Abraham. A lot of these fighters at 168 said, dang, they thought they were going to bully him. He looked like the smaller fighter, but he was actually stronger than them. But this time at 170, he wasn't the stronger guy, and it was clear as day. He was getting out wrestled in the clinch. Yes, he would throw some beautiful body work, which I think did actually pay some dividends later on in the fight. But every time he would throw some shots to the body, Kovalev was coming up top. Boom, side of the head. One reason I do believe that Cove lost this round, which really was frustrating to watch, was he started not to cut off the ring. He started to follow Ward as well. Um, and on top of the body work, I think Ward ultimately did have the ring generalship of this round, and did do some more effective work. So I gave round 4 to Andre Ward. Okay. Um, I think round 5 I gave to Ward. Right. I think they both had good aggression. I think it was fairly even with about 132 left. But then I think at the end of the round, Ward did some great body work, couple jabs that he landed that were beautiful, stole the round, in my mind. So where are we at right now? We're at 1, 2, 3 for Sergey Kovalev. I have 4 and 5, and this is me rescoring, mind you. So I just want everybody to realize this is me rescoring. I think 4 and 5 I gave to Ward. Um, Now round 6. Let's see. I put exchanging jabs. They're fairly even in the first half of the fight. Um, Last 30 seconds, Cove takes control. He has a 3-2 combination at 16 seconds left. Second 7 seconds, Ward lands a great jab, but then Cove counters over the top. And Ward does finish with some solid body work, a couple shots to the body. But again, I think Cove had the ring generalship, and I think he takes. I just don't believe that body shots, especially in round 6, uh, somehow outpoint headshots. It just doesn't equate to me. So I gave it 10-9 to Kovalev. Round 7, with 222 left, with 222 left on the clock, left to the head. Um, I think by Cove, this was the most effective punch of the round up until this point, which is basically within the first minute of the round. Um, 140 to 130. Ward does solid jab work. No power punches. Ward is actually having trouble finding Sergey Kovalev's head. So this is where you got a lot of the body work stuff. And so this is what I started to notice. Andre Ward, he had his effective seconds with the jab, but he was actually having really trouble closing that range and finding his range with the jab to the head. So he starts jabbing to the body because the body is definitely an easier target to hit. And so that's what I noticed, and then that's where I really started to say, well, that's where Sergey is killing him, because Sergey is finding the headshots, and that was apparent at the end of the fight. He found the head, um, and with 18 seconds left, Cove lands an up jab. Ward goes to the body, then Cove lands an uppercut and ends the round, pressing the action with the jab. I gave round 7 to Kovalev. Okay. Um, Now, round 8, Ward comes out with a beautiful left hook. I think it was right. It was to the body. Um, so he does do some good body work. But again, I think in a lot of these clinch exchanges, Ward would crack 2 to the body, boom, boom, and Kovalev would come up top, pop, pop to the head. Um, I think this is one of those close rounds. I think this is one of them. Um, but again, trying to give Ward rounds, I'm giving him this round. I gave him round 8. Okay. Um, Now, starting round 9, Ward is still having trouble finding the head. He's landing to the body. Cove is landing to the head. His jab is landing within the first minute. At 113 or so, with on the clock, Cove flurries. Ward lands a jab, then left right combo. Then a left right combo for Cove. At 107 left, Ward lands a jab. Cove lands counter right over the top. 44 seconds. There's an up jab, an exchange. Looks like I gave Ward round 9. Okay. Round 10. You got about an even exchange up into the 133 mark, exchanging jabs. Every time Ward went to the body, Cove responded up top, which again was a reoccurring theme of the fight. I'd say up until about 110, it was a fairly even fight. With 44 seconds, you got a headshot by Ward, but immediately responded by headshots by Cove, and that was also a reoccurring theme. Every time Ward did have some success, the champ always responded in kind, right? Almost with multiple punches. Around the 29-second mark, they're going jab for jab. 22nd, Ward starts to try to get fancy here, which really was odd to me because he wasn't devouring. It's like I don't know if he was just doing that. He might have been just playing mind games, which Andre Ward is very good at. But he also eats a solid jab for it twice. Um, at 15 seconds, he did it again. It takes another jab. He partially blocked it. Um, and then at the end of the round, Andre eats a straight right. Oh, I thought he ate a straight right, but the replay showed different. So for this round, again, with just how Kovalev is responding to each of these exchanges, how when he tries to make him, or he tries to throw him off his game, he's eating jabs, for the wind up in the right hand. He's taking a jab. I'm giving Kovalev round 10. Now, round 11. Ward establishes a great jab. At 153, gate left hook by Ward. Ward starts to trouble Cove with his level change, and so this is where the genius of Andre Ward comes in. Basically, what he did, right? He started going to the body, and what he did was he found success with the jab to the body, right? Mind you, Cove is finding success with the jab to the face. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a fight. I'll take a body shot to a face shot any day, but that's just me. Some people actually do feel different. More power to you. But Ward did find success to the body. And so what he was able to do in round 11 is he was able to threaten a level change, right? And what I mean by that is he's able to fake shots to the body and then come upstairs to the head. Beautiful work, right? He invested that body work in, and it started to pay some dividends a little bit. But then what Cove does, and again, just the mark of a true champion, Cove starts to also threaten his own level change in an attempt to counter the counters, right? So, around the 121 mark, they're exchanging jabs. 116, Cove delivers a great right, short left at 111 from Ward, then a right hand at 108 by Cove. 59 seconds, jab by Cove. 53 seconds, left hand landed to the body. Body and head by Ward. 45 seconds, jab by Ward, counter jab by Cove. 42, jab by Cove. 42nd, Ward is on his bicycle. 36-second, Kovalev reestablishes the center of the ring and then ends the round with one jab by Ward. Again, me trying to give rounds. I'm just going through like my time marker. So as you can see, I'm really trying to like look for the meaningful exchanges. It sounds like an even round because it sounds like an even round. I'm going to give it to Andre Ward. Right now, we're into the last and final round. All right. Let's see. 243 left by Ward. Jab for jab. 223. They exchange hooks. Both of them pretty much blocked it. Inside exchanges, they were mostly trading petty shots, right? That's what I wrote. And the reason I say this because really there's a lot of rabbit punching to the back of the head in this fight by both fighters. I'm not going to lie. And really that's just a mental thing, right? It's you do it, I do it too. Just so you know, you'll never get that one over on me. Which is just how they, at that level, that's what you never want to give an inch, right? There was also some low blows in this round. I'll let you decide, but around the 104 mark, I'd like you guys to take a look at that. Um, but again, fairly even round. I don't think a lot of people were, shout out to Anna from Supreme Boxing. That's the homegirl. And, we always have some great debates, but she was like, oh, Ward took 12. And I was like, took it. Like, he did all right. You know what I mean? Like, at this juncture, Ward never dominated a round. Like, he didn't have a knockdown round. He had some rounds where he did great work, but he never just completely dominated Kovalev. And I think that's, coming to the end of this fight, like that is what everybody was really upset about, is that Kovalev did have a dominant round, and then the rest of the fight, if you're giving Ward, rounds, is a fairly even fight at that point. So this is how I have it scored through 12. I got round one, I got 10-9 for Cove. Round eight, excuse me. Round two is a 10-8 for Cove. Round three, 10-9 for Cove. Rounds four and five, 10-9 for Ward. Round six, seven, I got 10-9 for Cove. 8-9 is 10-9 for Ward. Round 10 is a 10-9 for Cove, and then 11-12 I gave to Ward. And again, this is me giving rounds, and I'm going to touch on that in just a second and why I keep saying that. But with that being said, that's basically 6 rounds to 6. The 10-8 round should have been the deciding factor. Now, let me touch on why I keep saying I'm trying to give Andre Ward rounds. I'm trying to give Andre Ward rounds because I'm trying to come to a realization or an understanding of how they were giving Andre Ward that many rounds. I'm from the school of thought that if you're the champion, you defend your title or it gets taken from you. And this is what made me a little upset about the decision. Again, being an Andre Ward fan and a Sergey Kovalev fan, first of all, both of these men work very hard for their careers, right? They spend, we watch a fight for an hour, and that's what we see. We think these guys just came from the crib after watching some, Love and Hip Hop or something, and they just come in and start fighting. Like, no, these guys put in hours, thousands of hours to their craft. There's a reason these guys are both undefeated, but they work thousands of hours for the fight. So this a decision like this to me does a disservice to boxing and to the fighters, because if you're the champ that earned those belts, you had to go out there and knock cats out for those belts, and then some guy squeaks by on points and on rounds that maybe were fairly even, then yeah, I mean, how do you take rounds from the champ and give them to the challenger? It's just interesting. Like, you have 3 belts, and we're talking light heavyweight champions, Andre Ward and Kovalev. We're talking about these fighters. You're giving rounds to the challenger. That's what I had to try to do to come to this close of a fight, because legitimately, like, let's see, there's a couple rounds where I honestly, during the fight, I gave to Cove. Like, I believe maybe round 5, it might have been 5 and 11. Really, I think I could have given to Cove, and I probably did when I originally watched the fight. But again, looking at them, they're close. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to give those to Andre Ward. And I still come up with the deciding factor being the 10-8 round, which was the most dominant round by any fighter in the whole fight, right? And so you're doing a disservice to boxing, because now Andre Ward is going to be regarded by many in the boxing world as people think he got gifted these 3 titles, man. And you just took an O from a man who earned it his whole life. I feel like you guys really just robbed this gentleman of 3 titles. Like, that's crazy to me. You're trying to tell me that he earned 3 belts that night. I highly doubt it. I mean, it's just crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. let me go back to a few things. So I'm gonna go through a few things, and I'll put them up here so you can see. But let's start with something that I noticed on the scorecards. Somebody, this could be my lack of knowledge, right? I don't know everything, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I do. I'm just giving my opinion. But I'm going through the scorecards and I'm noticing rounds where the score total is in Kovalev's favor. White first scorecard all the way to the left. Judge Mikhail, like round 10, round 9, round 8, round 7, which he gave to Ward, but the score total is in Kovalev's favor. Burt Clements, round 8, round 7, round 6, all in Kovalev's favor. I guess maybe it's punch type, but we're gonna jump into that. Glenn Trowbridge, what a name. Yeah, round 10, round 9, round 8, round 7, all given to Ward, but Cove has the higher total score. So I'm just interested. I'm interested if somebody can please explain that um, to me. Yeah, it's interesting. Now here's another thing. So I went to Sergey Kovalev's official page, and I think they pulled up the CompuBox numbers. And what I found interesting, I just saw this actually. So I had already done my review, and then I'm just going through other channels and media outlets because I'm a boxing fan, and that's what I do. However, I find this, and I look at this final punch stat report, okay? And some of you are probably already saying, yeah, but punch stats suck. And we're going to get to that. Because total jabs for Kovalev, 48. Total jabs for Ward, 55. Total punches, 126 of 474 and 116 of 337. Power punches landed, 78 versus 61. So if we were to look at just CompuBox numbers, let's see, where do we have? 48. 7 more jabs landed, but 17 more power punches landed by Kovalev. And that's total, right? So obviously we judge fights round by round. But that's interesting. So you couldn't the overall picture, you can't really say, oh, well, because he landed more, right? But you can, and I'll tell you why. Because again, if we're going against our CompuBox numbers, basically what I noticed, and you guys will be able to look at it up here, is the rounds that I gave to Ward seem pretty fairly close, right? You look at the punch stats, and I can see that. So it goes to show those are the close rounds, right? That I gave to Ward. But then the other rounds that I believe I gave to Kovalev, if you look at the punch stats, jabs landed, thrown, power punches landed and thrown, Kove wins those in the numbers department. Like Jay-Z said one time, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So as I go through that, I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting how that kind of corroborated, my final scorecard, right? Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Um, and what I want to say about CompuBox is this. There's a lot of people that hate CompuBox, a lot of people that love it, but here's the problem that I'm having, and this is just one of those things again that's wrong with boxing, right? And we all know this. This isn't new stuff. So I'm preaching to the choir, but is if CompuBox is that off, why do we use it? Why is it even there? Is it there to lie to the fans? I looked at it and I kind of fairly agree. Again, I found this thing. I didn't look at the CompuBox numbers beforehand. I watched the fight at the bar. So right after this fight, I went back to a wedding. So, I'm not really, trying to, I didn't try to justify my rounds by using the scorecard. I just looked at it after and it happened to line up perfectly with the rounds that I gave Cove and the rounds that I gave Ward. And mind you, there's a 10-8 round. There's the difference. That's my opinion. But if, but I think one of the things that we have that the real issue in boxing is that we either don't trust the judges or we don't trust CompuBox, right? Because one of these things just doesn't belong here. But the fact of the matter is neither one are held accountable. And that to me is what sucks about boxing. We look at a basketball game, we look at the score, we believe that the score is right. If the ref is wrong, we all look at the ref and say, you were wrong on that call. And even now in basketball, you can read a replay. Football, you can get a replay. We can go back and look at these things. But three world titles can be taken from a man, and we don't have any replay. We can't look at, say, CompuBox said this, you guys are wrong, and they say, you know what, you're right. We can't do that in boxing. And so one of these things has to give. If CompuBox is wrong and HBO is saying it's wrong, right? Because the judges are saying it's wrong, get rid of it. Right? But if CompuBox is fairly right and we seem to trust them on most fights except when it's a good fight or a championship caliber fight like this, then we just say, nah, CompuBox was way off. The judge is right there ringside there, which I'm assuming the CompuBox person is ringside too, or people, whoever's there. I don't know how many people are doing it, but whatever. But I'm assuming they're ringside too. And all they have to do is sit there and count punches. You only have one job. Punch, boom, landed. Punch, boom, landed. Punch, 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 landed. Blocked. Whatever. Right? That's your job. You got one job. And the judges, you have one job. Now, my problem with the judging ultimately lies in the fact that I don't believe Andre Ward took the championship belts. He had a great fight. I'm not gonna lie. As a boxing fan, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was a great fight. But did he really just earn 3 titles today? Like I look at basically the span of Kovalev's career, right? He earned all of those belts. And then he finally fought who everybody believed is number 1 pound for pound. A lot of people believe that. And I think beat him, but at minimum matched him. That's what we would call a draw, right? If it was, we would call that a draw. The fight was dead even, but he knocked him down 10-8 round. This is just me talking. At this point, I'm just ranting, right? But look at the 2 different responses. People who think who think Ward won, go online, look at all of them. I'll even try to provide some links. They're like, it was a close fight. Yeah, I think Ward edged it out. But people who saw Kovalev win were like, wow, what are you even talking about? Ward did not win this fight. Kovalev won that fight. Now, granted, there's going to be some casuals that saw the knockdown and they're thinking that's the end all be all. That's why I decided not to listen to them. Let me turn the sound off. Let me go round by round and just look at the punches landed, look at effective aggression and ring generalship, and see who really took these rounds. What Ward did was a great thing. And I think that's what really makes me upset too, because it takes away from what he just did. He could have been victorious in loss or in a draw. Because people would have said, dude, he just stepped up to this monster and got knocked down, came back and fought his ass off. And everybody would have respected that. But now I'm going around looking at comments, everybody's like, fuck Ward. Even though Ward didn't judge the fight, right? This man's just a fighter. You know what I mean? That's like, shit, you work at the cash register at, McDonald's. I know that's a far reach, but I'm just giving an example. And that's like when the customer says, you know what, this damn patty wasn't cooked well. Fuck you. You're like, damn, I don't cook patties, asshole. I just fucking do the register. You know what I mean? Like that's the sense I'm getting. They're not killing. This is the one time you should kill the messengers, man. because they delivered that bad news. Not Andre Ward. He was in the ring like, oh shit, I took it. And you can't blame him. But to say that he really just won 3 titles right now, I can't get past that, is ridiculous to me. Okay? He did not take those belts from the champ. The champ defended those belts. Whether it was an fairly close fight, right? When people start saying it was fairly close, could have gone either way, I automatically jump to the conclusion that that was a draw. You know what I mean? The fact that 3 judges sat there and just gave this man 3 belts is beyond me. Especially when, let's see, the fight fans. Oh, actually, so I got this thing from Bad Left Hook, which is a very reputable, website, right, in the boxing community. But man, a lot of people saw the fight very similarly. Harold Letterman had it fairly wide. Even watching the fight live, I was like, dang, Harold Letterman's kind of really just giving Cove some rounds. I will say that much. But Max Kellerman definitely balanced that out by sucking Ward's dick from the beginning. Um, so we're just gonna start there. Let's see, Bernardo Osuna from ESPN. He had it 115, 113. Let's see, Chris Mannix from Yahoo. Um, had it 115, 112. Let's see. Al Bernstein, Showtime, had it for 115, 112 for Kovalev. Don Rafael, 115, 112 Kovalev. Bad Left Hook, 115, 112 Kovalev. Steve Kim from Boxing Scene, 115, 112 for Kovalev. Lance Pugmire from the Los Angeles Times, 115, 112. Revista Boxer, 115, 112 for Kovalev. Ryan Songalia, The Ring, 115, 112. Eric Raskin, HBO, 114, 113. What I had for Kovalev. Boxing Monthly, 114, 113 for Kovalev. And Kieran Mulyani, I don't know who the hell that is, from HBO, 114, 113. All in favor of the winner and should have been still the champion, Sergey Kovalev. That's a lot of people, man. A lot of people that really watch and love boxing, man. A lot of these people are boxing. These people cover boxing. Like, that's like shitting on us as fans and saying, you guys are stupid. You don't know what you watched. And I hate when people sit up there and say, Andre Ward clearly won that fight. You don't know what you're watching. Shut the fuck up. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm watching. I know what a jab looks like. Have you ever even taken a jab to the face, fucker? I don't think so. You don't know what you're watching. It's crazy. A lot of people don't even know when shots are actually blocked. How do you score a fight? How do you score a punch? I assume it has to touch a pointing area, right? But anyways, it's sad because it does a disservice to both fighters. You took titles from a man and you gave titles to another man when I don't believe he rightly deserved it. And the fans are gonna backlash on him for some shit that went on behind the scenes. And one of the reoccurring themes I'm noticing over the weekend and over the past couple of weeks is this term politics. Um, and the reason I really want to touch on that is because I've noticed it. It's all getting thrown all over the place, right? I just saw just dipping outside of boxing. I just saw this rant with Kanye West where he's talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce and he's going on this rant about the politics that are happening behind the scene. You obviously have this Trump election and then now we have boxing. And people are talking about politics in this stuff. I heard Black Lives Matter come up in a video about boxing. I couldn't fucking believe it. Like, it's crazy how this is such a representation of larger things to me. And I don't want to get extra deep on here. It's just crazy to me. But let me start by saying this. If you think Ward won simply because he's a black fighter, you are a disservice to boxing. If you think Kovalev should have lost simply because he's Russian, you are a disservice to boxing. Okay? Again, these are two just human beings, man. It's two human beings. That's the way I look at it. So you miss me with all that ignorant shit. All of you guys. There's a lot of fucking channels that I really had a lot of respect for. And I can tell that this YTBC shit is getting to them. because again, they're bringing up shit like Black Lives Matter, and don't get me wrong, there's a couple channels that are run by some brothers, and I know, man, they got a pro-black agenda. You are a disservice to boxing. You are a disservice to boxing. I'm just gonna say that, because I think this decision had less to do with race, ethnicity, nationality. I do. People were like the judges weren't Russian. That may be true. I'm not going to sit here and say that. What I do think it had something to do with was money. And let's be clear, because when we talk politics, I'd say 99.9% of the time, when you're talking politics, we're talking about money. Really. Even the Kanye West rant, what he's talking about, Jay-Z and Beyonce, those politics that are happening behind the scene, it's about money. This whole Trump election backlash, all the politics that happen, it's money. Wars that we're in, money. Potential boxing robberies, not race. It's fucking money. Let's be real. Why, you ask? Why do you think money has to do with it? Well, simply put, who the hell were these guys going to fight after this? Who? If Ward loses, nobody. I mean, maybe he goes down to 168 and fights who? Stays at 170, fights who? If he lost. Because now the fight isn't interesting. Because what I believe is, had Ward lost on Saturday, I don't think the Ward fans would be outcrying the same way the Kovalev fans or believers. Not everybody was a Kovalev fan. I watched it again at a bar, and I was there with a couple of boys of mine, my girl, and me and my girl, we're going for Kovalev. But one of my boys comes up, he goes, "I'm going for Andre Ward." At the end of the fight, he goes, "Wow." He goes, "Sergey Kovalev just got robbed." So let me tell you, this isn't about fans necessarily. This isn't about fans of fighters, but it's about boxing fans. This is about money, I think, because I don't think these either of these fighters had anywhere to go. I even heard speculation, and shout out to, so there's a couple channels I like to shout out: Boxing Ego, Precise Presenter, Thunderdome Boxing. I like these three channels. Typically, there's a couple of things that they said I don't agree with. Precise Presenter, he kind of said he thought Kovalev threw the fight. I think maybe there was also reports of having a hand injury. I don't think Kovalev wanted to lose his titles at all, not by any means. Russia is way too proud, and if he wanted to play politics, man, I mean, dude's, I think he's just a fighter's fighter. You know, that's my opinion. Thunderdome Boxing, shout out to you. I've been a big fan. I don't know any of these guys personally, just fans of the pages, but he went on some other shit. Now, it was really sad to watch this last video of yours, brother, because I could tell that you were not so much hurt with the outcome per se, right? Like you didn't have anything invested in Kovalev, right? It's not like you lost money or anything like that. But I can tell that the injustice really has you falling out of love with boxing, and that's sad to see, man, because you were one of the reasons that I really fell in love with it. So if you watch this, man, I just, if you got to take time to step away from these videos and do you, man, but don't fall out of love with the sport, not just yet. Even though I'm right behind you, I get you. um, and Ego Boxing, uh, he always does his best to be, as unbiased as possible. But he also is a hardworking cat, and he puts up videos very, 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 very consistently, and I respect that. But anyways, back to what I'm saying. Yeah, this thing felt more like a money play than anything. If the fight was close enough, instead of just giving it to the champ, let's give it to Ward if we can edge it out, because we can get three more fights out of this. There's an immediate rematch clause, which Kathy Duva says we're going to exercise. And I have my fucking reservations about you, Kathy Duva, because Everybody's like, oh, three American judges and shit. If you really should have, I felt like you should have known better. I felt like you should have done more to protect your fighter, Sergey Kovalev, if you really wanted to. They asked her, you didn't believe that something like this could happen? She goes, no. What? You've been in this industry for how long and you didn't believe that because you considered him an American fighter? You may be right. Maybe you're not that mad because you get 3 more fights or 2 more fights, right? Because you're a promoter. If your boxer wins this and he can't fight Adonis Chickenson, we'll stick with that. Then who does he fight after to get your big payday? Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it just seems funny. Seems funny that you wouldn't protect your fighter more from that. You knew there was going to be 3 American judges. You knew that. Also, one thing for you boxing channels, I hate going online and then watching like after fight thoughts, from fighters and people at the event, and I'm looking at it just makes me upset to watch somebody interview somebody from their camp. Like, don't interview somebody that trains with Andre Ward and ask them who won the fight. He's not gonna say that's the homie. He's not gonna sit up there and say, no, Andre lost. That's my boy. I gotta go see him this Tuesday in the gym. But yeah, no, he lost, man. He definitely didn't deserve that. And he got to go explain that to Andre Ward. Come on, don't interview that cat. Ask him what he thought of the fight and keep it pushing. But that's the homie, basically. He's not gonna sit there and say, I thought my friend lost. You got to interview neutral, unbiased individuals. That's kind of the purpose of journalism. At least it used to be. I just don't understand how this many people can be wrong. Bad left hook. I don't know if I said this already. I might have, but they did that. They did a poll. It's still going on. You guys can go check it out yourself. Badlefthook.com. Who do you have winning the Kovalev Ward fight? 71% said Sergey Kovalev. Over almost 3,000 people have voted. No, almost just about 4,000 people have voted. That's a pretty big consensus, man. So I'm just interested to know how we all got it wrong. And that's just 4,000 who go to Bad Left Hook and voted. Not to mention, the writers of Bad Left Hook, well, they had Kovalev winning the fight. I don't know, guys. Stuff like this, when it feels inauthentic, it doesn't feel genuine, and that's why people are upset. Because it feels like not only are you robbing these fighters of their livelihoods and their integrity, right? Because you're messing with Andre Ward's integrity. That's why he said this is unfortunate. Again, I'm not going to sit here and hate on Andre Ward. He went in there, fought his ass off. And if the judges gave it to him, who the hell is he to say I'm wrong? He thought he tried his hardest, and if his hardest won him the fight, that's what he gets. But it messes with his integrity now because all of the fans are looking at him and saying, dude, fuck you. And again, he's just a cashier guy. He ain't in the back making burgers. It's the guys behind the scenes that are destroying the fabric of everything you love. And I'm reading the comments and they're like, this is why UFC is just gaining ground. And I agree. I agree because at the end of the day, the UFC at least feels authentic in the sense of how they're judging and the fairness that they give fighters. You know what I mean? It's sad. So again, I don't believe Ward won this fight. Kathy Dubas says there's an immediate rematch clause, which is so beneficial for her and the other promoters. Andre Ward, I'm not mad at Andre Ward for fighting the fight that he fought. I don't believe he won this fight. I don't think he dominated that many rounds. I gave him some rounds, and even in a draw round by round, there's still a 10-8 round that I give to Kovalev, and I believe earned him the right to retain 3 belts. Yeah. I'm tired of hearing race be a factor, because if you think these cats care about your race per se, they don't. Not the ones behind the scenes. Maybe these channels that making it so petty. This was about money, in my opinion. I'm gonna try to end optimistically. And one thing that I will say is that it has polarized the boxing community. And what I mean by polarized is that it puts you on either end. There is no middle ground. There's not I haven't heard anybody say, well, actually I've heard a lot of people say it could have gone either way, but you're either on Ward's side or you're on Kovalev's side right now. And that polarization is good. The last time we've seen a very good, solid, polarizing effect in boxing was Mayweather Pacquiao. But boxing fans are tired of the circus, man. You're losing boxing fans, boxing purists, and that's boxing purists are part of your media outlets. HBO can't do all this media by themselves. Showtime, you can't do all this media by yourselves. You need these small outlets. Don't turn them off for this sport. Now, while another sport is doing something very similar in a better fashion, then you don't do it now. Don't fuck up, because they're gaining ground, you're losing fans. And who really gets affected? The rest of the fans and your fighters. You guys have made your money, or you're making your money, but it'll ultimately affect you eventually as well. I don't think boxing will die. It'll always have embers, but it might eventually pale in comparison to another sport. See, there was no other sport that could take its place, but right now there is one that's killing you guys on pay-per-view buys consistently. Just because Mayweather Pacquiao was an outlier in the boxing world doesn't mean that this other sport of MMA won't get there eventually. It's only 20 years old and they're gaining ground on you guys. You guys are losing money in an attempt to make a quick dollar. You're tripping over dollars to get to pennies, as they would say. Because you guys can consistently make money if you just put on the fights that the fans want to see, judge them fairly, and make it a sport we want to watch. I mean, there's politics in all sports, don't get me wrong. Basketball, too. You've heard referees come out and say they play favorites, and football, and make calls and get paid off, and but at least it feels authentic. It feels like I can watch a real game and believe that there was a choice. I don't want to watch any sport where every time it's supposed to be so great, you turn it into something wrong. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm going to put some of these links in the YouTube description. If you want to watch the fight itself, you can go to goldmines.com. I'll put it up there. And I'll put a bunch of this stuff just so you guys can see it. Um, my ultimate thoughts, man, for a lot of this stuff is just don't make this Kovalev Ward thing about race. That's the last thing we need right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's real petty of you guys. There's always going to be racists, but don't argue with these fools, because people from across the street can't tell who is who. And realize that in my opinion at least, that this decision was about money. Um, but if you have a media outlet, you're a boxing fan, shed some light on stuff like this, man. And boxing, get it together. Let us know which one is right. You either put CompuBox there or you take it out completely, or get some judges. And if you have fighters around the world, man, you guys need to put these guys in protective custody or something before the big fights happen. You know what I'm saying? Because what is the mob getting to these guys? Like, how the hell is that happening? Maybe they're scared for their lives. Shit. Mob come after me, man. It might be 115, 113 for Ward, too. I mean, really. That's all I gotta say, man. I hope that they put on an immediate rematch. I hope they don't tie this up in more politics. And one thing I will say, and that I agree with, that a lot of people have said, is that Kovalev should have ended that fight, and that might be right. If the reports of him having a hurt hand are true, I think that should also speak volumes too, though. Who knows? But if he didn't hurt his hand bad enough to where he couldn't have stopped the fight, maybe he should have pressed the issue. Ward did come on strong in the later rounds. And which doesn't surprise me because he's always in phenomenal shape. I think he slowed down a little bit speed wise, but his quickness mentally is still there. I think one thing we can take away from this is that Andre Ward did not outbox the puncher. I think he was in there with a fairly equally tactical and cunning fighter. And I want to just give, I'm the type of fan, and I hang out with fighters. I see fighters train. I train myself. And so I always want to just give the utmost respect to the fighters who go in there and risk everything. Kovalev risked 3 belts and a 0, which he lost all. Andre Ward risked his O and his reputation. These guys did the fighting. Not those fucking judges, not those promoters who all make money from this stuff. The leeches, right? So, you know, do your own research. Watch the fight for yourself. At this point, my opinion is just my opinion. It doesn't change any outcomes. I'm not trying to sway you. I'm just trying to express what I saw. What friends of mine even saw. I've had fighters texting me and saying, "Man, I think Kovalev took that." So that's just me. But watch the fight. Come up with your own conclusions. Feel free to respond in the comment section. Add me on Instagram at Goldminds, GOALEDMINDS, and visit us at www.goldminds.com. That's GOALEDMINDS.com. This is your boy JU signing out. I appreciate you guys listening. I know it's been a long hour, but there was a lot to talk about. Anyways, peace out, you guys. Once again, this is JU, GoldMinds.com. Peace.